you want to get in the best shape of your life this summer. I mean, summer, it's halfway past summer, but to get into the best shape of your life psychologically, you need to count the calories, man. Calories are everything. All right. You need to be hitting, no matter how tall you are, bro, 2 to 3,000 calories a day. If you're taller, on the taller end, you're gonna have to probably double that depending how tall you are, right? Because the tallest, is like 6'2" to 6'4" that you might see in real life, but it varies. That's what you need, calories. Okay, whether you're trying to gain weight, especially if you're a skinny, hard gainer like me at one point, it's not as hard for me to gain weight anymore like it was back then for me, but I still got to eat a lot, but sometimes if you don't hit the calories, that's fine. You got to hit the protein. Protein is everything, you know, amount of protein, per pound of body weight and everything, but to get out all the logistics and stuff, you cannot work a bad diet, right? Eat whole foods, healthy foods, bananas, peanut butter. If you're not into peanut butter, you can always do alternative things. You have avocados, you have lemons, you have cucumbers, slice them up, turn them into different kind of dishes. You could do, man, if you want, you could go on cookbooks and all that stuff, different recipes. You could even try different stuff. Why not, right? Experiment a little bit. Try, you don't have to eat just bland food. People think you got to eat bland salads and stuff. No, you don't have to do that. Okay, that's not necessary. But you have to do the 80-20 rule, which is eat 80% whole foods and healthy, which is healthy foods, and 20% of whatever you want. You do that, you won't have as much of a craving because you can always reward yourself with whatever junk food, whatever soda drink. It only becomes a problem when you consume it all the time. Doing it every couple months or once or twice a year is nothing. It won't affect you because it hasn't built up enough time to affect you. Just like in the gym, you have to go consistently until you see results. Same with your health. You have to, intake the right nutrients to get the right energy so you're not drained and exhausted. You're going to start feeling better in no time. You know, same with bad food. You have to keep eating bad food all the time, every day or all day, every day before you start feeling the negative effects of it. It'll come quick for sure, and not in a good way. So you always got to make that balance, right? Or you could just cut out everything altogether and just eat strictly clean. But like I said, you can always indulge in, the whole, 80-20 rule. I always say do that because you will literally, it just shows discipline. You can still eat cookies and whatever snacks you have, especially if you're a hard gainer, you can kind of get away with it, right? It won't affect you too much, but you still won't be getting the results you want if you make that your entire priority after going to the gym. First, you got to have the discipline, and then you got to track the food. All right, it's really self-explanatory. And if you're trying to lose weight, if you're overweight and you're trying to lose that fat, lose the weight without having the fat hanging. The only way is kind of similar to David Goggins, if you know who David Goggins is. And that is literally, simply put, David Goggins is just a guy who was a Navy SEAL. Hard times, quote, famous quote, stay hard. I haven't seen or heard about him in a long while. But what he did, he was like 300 pounds. I mean, he's tall. He's like just over 6 foot, I'm pretty sure. And he was around 300 pounds. What he did was a lot of intense cardio and eating right, like I'm talking intense cardio, eating right. Because if you just do the cardio, you can burn the fat, right? You burn more than you consume, calorie deficit, right? You can do all the cardio you want, but you still need a weight lift. Besides the dieting, the weightlifting, do cardio, intense weightlifting with a strict diet. That the weightlifting is gonna start to shed that fat. Obviously, it does depend. He was big for his size for sure, but he didn't already have fat just hanging already. Because the fat's already hanging, then that's pretty bad. But if you just have a higher body fat percentage and it's not already hanging, but it's there, like, you know what I'm saying? Like a guy who's more full. There's a picture of David Goggins when he was 300 pounds somewhere on the internet. You could look that up. He wasn't too obese, but he was still pretty big. So with the heavy weightlifting and the dieting and the intense cardio and the training, especially with the Navy SEAL, he was able to lean down and not have that stomach fat, the body fat of just sagging extra skin, So that's one of the more crucial ways to go about it if you're bigger. If you don't already have that excess fat just hanging, because that's very, it's very, I can tell it's just annoying, you know, to have that, to carry that unnecessary extra skin and weight. It's mind boggling. You know, that's what it takes. It's not hard. It just takes discipline, and you can literally use those principles in your personal life and change your personal life for the better and whatever your goals are. You know, if health is wealth, literally, it's not even to just because it rhymes. It's not even to sound cliche, but it's true. Health is wealth, and if you're not focused on your health in the best ways possible, you're not going to have the energy to go after your goals, mission, or passion or purpose in this life. Especially as men, we need to be healthy. Back then in the Stone Ages, those guys were healthy. I mean, they had to actually hunt for their food and everything to survive, but it's kind of the same process. Be the hunter and the predator, not the hunted or the prey. Okay? But that really is the end of this video. It sums up everything. It was a quick little short video. Just quickly put about, you know, fitness and everything. I feel like I should go deeper into the fitness because I feel like that's very more important. I have a very realistic physique that's very natural, still grinding to get the ideal natural physique to push to the natural limit for me. I feel like I'm going to document the journey even more if y'all want to be a part of that. If this resonated with you or if it's something that interests you, comment down below. Comment, you know, any other recommendations you may want to see. Like the video if it really interested you. Share with someone who needs to hear this if they're very skinny or bigger, you know, for their size and they really want to get in the gym but they haven't been motivated. Until next time, I'm going to see y'all on the next one. Oh, and before I head out, make sure to hit the subscribe button. It's absolutely free. You can always change your mind later. I'll see y'all on the next one.